everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy at TV. In case you're not a subscriber yet, please do subscribe. Just press the subscribe button, as well as turn on the notification bell so that you can get notifications when we upload our videos. Don't also forget to subscribe and join, follow, like our other social media platforms. Of course, you're seeing it right about now. Don't also forget to share this video across your platforms. Enjoy the video. Professor Wumi Iledare joins me right now. He is a professor of Petroleum Economics. Good morning, Prof, and welcome to the program. From doctor to Prof now. So I'll survive you both this morning.
Good morning, Nancy. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes,
I will survive you too.
Thank you, Prof, for coming. Let's get started. Nnpc, I think I mentioned it on the program yesterday when I saw the reports. The financial statements of 2024, Nnpc posted a 5.4 trillion naira profit after tax. This is a company that has historical antecedents. Of course, we know from 2023, well, I think 2023 posted a profit, if I'm not mistaken. Prior to those years, it was posting losses. But what got me so interested in those financials when I was looking at them, and I'm looking at them right now, is this 5.4 trillion naira profit is on the back of FX revaluation, subsidy reforms, and improved operations, according to what Biojulari mentioned. But from your perspective, how much of this profit reflects core business performance rather than what I'll call one-off macro adjustments? Because macro adjustments, subsidy, macro adjustment, FX devaluation, that the FX devaluation done by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So will this profit be sustainable?
Thank you again, and you will allow me to make a disclaimer. I'm not speaking on behalf of Nnpc. I'm speaking as an expert in the oil and gas industry. I made a quick conversion to dollars, and the 5.4 trillion naira profit is between 3.1 at an exchange rate of 1,700 to $5.4 billion at an exchange rate of 1,000. So I want to bring that in perspective within the concept of the exchange rate risk. Having said that, let me also make a scriptural pronouncement. Do not undermine a marginal benefit, no matter how small it is. Third, this is probably 2024 is probably the first full year of operation of Nnpc. Previously, you are talking about change of government, you are talking about change of management, and so you have the first full years from where we can move on. And thirdly, because I want us to have a long conversation, I will give you a short answer.
Yes.
Again, you are going to see that this report has given us a benchmark to begin to judge Nnpc performance. So if exchange rate is taken out, if subsidy removal is taken out, remember the subsidy removal was middle of 2023.
Yes.
So 2024 is the full year.
But they were still under recovery costs that the Nnpc was.
In 2024.
Yes.
Again, that is a cost to them. So I want us to look at this small profit, if we call it that, as a good beginning that we can leverage on with people like you as someone who's going to be monitoring their performance. The source of this profit is probably from upstream activity and some macroeconomic adjustment.
Exactly.
There's no debate about that. It's not conjectural. But those are part of the risk and uncertainty in this business. Uncertainty is the inability to know precisely what will happen in the future.
Okay.
And risk is knowing the likelihood of those different outcomes coming to bear. So I want to begin with that positive thing that for the first time, we have a benchmark for a full year, irrespective of the input that made that profit to be possible.
Okay. Prof, historically, there have been concerns about NNPC. Let me not say NNPC Limited, whether because this new NNPC Limited is commercially driven.
Yes.
There's been concerns historically about the opacity of remittances to the Federation account. I also remember, I think, when Olayemi Cardoso came in as central bank governor, and the last GMD of the NNPC, Mele Kyari, they did say they created an office in central bank to be able to, look at the remittances to the Federation account, what the NNPC brings in to the Federation account through the central bank. What structural or governance changes convince you now with this framework or with this analysis which you just gave me, that the current reporting framework is genuinely different from the past?
Yes, Nancy. In the past, it was not a liability company. Right now, what NNPC, according to PIA, must do is to pay royalty, taxes, levies. Everything Shell pays the government. And through the means that which Shell pays the government or Total is the same thing that NNPC Limited must do. If the government wants to ask Shell for not paying royalty, the government also must ask NNPC for not paying royalty. The PIA looks at NNPC Limited the way they will look at Shell, Total, and the public must be educated. I said it yesterday, NNPC Limited is no longer the cash cow of the government. Now, government owns joint venture with Shell and Total and Chevron and nearly every other indigenous company. If those joint ventures are being transferred to NNPC Limited, then they belong to NNPC Limited. NNPC Limited will pay taxes on them, and at the end, when they declare profit, Nancy, the board of directors will determine the dividend that they are supposed to give the Federation account. That is the law. That is karma. The government needs to be looking at NNPC Limited in 2025 annual report, the way they will look at Dangote, the way they look at Shell, the way they will look at First E&P.
So, Prof, what single data points in this 2024 financials that have just been released most strongly signals that NNPC Limited ongoing transformation is real, is sustainable, and not cyclical? I did pose that question earlier on in my opening. That's part of what I'll be interrogating with these numbers. That's one. Then number two, NNPC targets, NNPC Limited, because it's instructive, we must put that limited there. Yes. NNPC Limited targets 3 million barrels per day by 2030, according to what we've been told, even from this report. Given security challenges, aging fields, and also perhaps constraints that may come that we may not even foresee, is this ambition achievable?
Yes, Nancy. 2010 was when Nigeria was to produce 3 million barrels per day. 2020 was when Nigeria was to produce 4 million barrels per day. I want to say that Nigeria has the proved reserves. And by definition, Nigeria has 37 billion barrels of oil reserves.
Yes.
If you multiply that by 0.03, that's 3% of that proved reserves. That means with the current proved reserves and installed capacity, Nigeria can produce 3 million barrels per day. Now, the security is the stochastic element that we cannot say we're not going to set a target because of unknown. And so with the proved reserves that is there, and statistically speaking, there is a 90% chance that Nigeria will not recover anything less than that 3.37 billion barrels. That means 3 million is doable. When is it going to be attained? Is stochastic.
Yes.
But it's a target. It's a target. Now, the other thing that may, and that's why I quickly convert that trillion barrels, 5.3 million, trillion into dollar,
yes,
is to look at the role of exchange rate in that figure. And that's a big risk. And that is what we don't know will happen in 2025. And I heard you, election year.
Yes, pre-election
requires discipline so as not to create inflationary tendencies. Nancy, next year is doable. There are three things that are important for profitability of an oil and gas business. What we are talking about, you and I, is accounting profit. Accounting profit is different from economic profit.
Yes.
If I speak to the economic profit, three variables are key. One is volume, which is your 3 million barrels per day. Two is the price of crude oil and natural gas. Three is the cost. The only item that we can think of improving profitability is the cost. And that's where Nnpc must tighten its belts. Because right now, I think they have the highest per barrel operation cost than others.
Yes.
If they are able to manage that cost, take care of all the cost centers that is not contributing to this profitability agenda, I don't see why they cannot improve beyond 5.4 trillion. Ceteris paribus, exchange rate and inflation must be managed. But that's not within their purview. What is within their purview is the cost and volume.
If we're looking at the global shift right now that we're seeing, global capital shift towards even renewables, how do you assess the long-term viability of Nnpc's massive investment? Because even reading the press release by the spokesperson of the Nnpc, talking about massive gas infrastructure investments in AKK, OB3, against the risk of us having perhaps stranded assets, as it were. So what do you think when the rest of the world is moving this way? Or are you of the view that let us finish even developing first before they begin to tell us to go green? As it were, I was having a conversation yesterday with the CEO of NESG at an event, and we were talking about this green thing and all of that. So what's your view on that?
Well, there's no doubt that the energy landscape is evolving.
It's changing.
And there's no doubt that renewable energy has an advantage if the emphasis is on climate change. For Nigeria, the issue, in my opinion, is governance. If we are able to manage the governance of the oil and gas sector effectively, efficiently, equitably, and ethically, attracting investment will not be a challenge. In Africa, Nigeria has the highest proved reserves for natural gas, 207 to 210 trillion cubic feet.
Yes.
Yes, a number of them, a number of the gas reserves are stranded now. In fact, the Nigerian economy needs a lot of gas. And that's why I commend the former ES for ACPO with the Energy Bank, African Energy Bank that has been created. And that's what we can leverage on. If we can improve our governance of the sector, if we can follow the rule of law, there's no better place to invest than Nigeria, because the skilled workers are there. People may not believe it. The oneness of our community is there. Yes, there are insecurity. There's nowhere that there's no insecurity. I believe that all of these propositions are doable. Governance, however, is the key. We must tell people that the law that took us 21 years to reform, we will see the way it goes before we start talking about amendment. Let us manage governance, transparency, and accountability. And I guarantee you, I talked to you about this several years, investment will come. Yes, it's dropping, but the future is bright if governance is established accordingly, according to the law.
Prof, just 1 minute, and we can't go without asking you the sticky issue around Nnpc Limited, the refineries. What do you think about that? That is, whenever Nigerians talk about Nnpc, they just look at, oh, the refineries. Why aren't the refineries working? What's your view on that in just a few seconds?
Okay. It is the responsibility of the board of directors to decide what they do with the refinery, because it is their asset, Nnpc Limited asset. Let them look at it. It's not about sentiment, Nancy. It's not about political expediency. It's about economics. And it is the responsibility of the board of directors to be honest with themselves and do the right thing. If they think they cannot operate it, they can do what we call 49-50%, which is what they wanted to do when Obasanjo was about to hand over. It is good for Nnpc Limited to have a functioning refinery because it gives them a bigger asset diversification, and value creation is in the downstream. More in the downstream for economic development than the upstream. Upstream only give you revenue and make you to be corrupt as a nation. Downstream will not.
Yes, and a lot of cash flow. Anyway, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining me.
Thank you for
the
invitation.
program. All right, I've been speaking with Professor Wumi Iledare, who is a petroleum economist, and we've been looking at Nnpc's financials. So much to talk about, but there's little I can really do in 20 minutes or so. But we'll continue to look at the financials, and like what Prof said, I'll continue to take a look at Nnpc's numbers with these my glasses. That's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. I hope you enjoyed our package. Please join me again tomorrow, same time. Other guests, be the best you can be the change that you want to see. I am. Thank you for making it up to this minute watching the video. Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy TV. Follow all our other social media platforms where we keep you up to speed with fantastic interviews, as well as markets, personal finance, business, and economy information. This is the best place to be. I'll see you all again in the next video.